Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to the Nest Podcast, episode 42, the Jackie Robinson episode, breaking all kinds of barriers. I'm your host, Brandon, and this is my co host, Zach. Zach, what's going on, my man?
Yo, how's it going, man?
Good. This is my third podcast this week, your second.
Yes.
I was on the Bearded Ballesta podcast, the Castle Black Bourbon and Coffee is what
Yep.
he calls it. Little Game of Thrones talk going on, and had a great time. He's a great podcast host. If you guys are looking for anybody else to listen to, check him out. He does movie reviews, MMA reviews, all football, stuff like that. So anything that you're into, he might be covering it. So check him out. He's really cool, really thorough with his stuff.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you who were expecting the Nerd Entertainment podcast to cover Endgame, he goes in depth with that movie. So turn to
Yes,
him for that.
he goes in depth for the entire Marvel universe. So if you're all about that stuff, go check out Adam, man. He's awesome. He's a really good dude.
Yeah.
But of course, episode 42 is brought to you by Sportszilla. So, Zach, um, we talked a little bit before we went online about the hockey playoffs, the hockey Stanley Cup, and how neither one of us are really that into hockey or following it that much. So we didn't want to come off as fake and come on here and try to bullshit like we knew something. I'm cheering for the Bruins because that's my go-to team whenever anybody asks. I know Zach said that he, I guess, would prefer the Blues to win so that maybe they can have a parade in St. Louis or something. That would be cool, I guess, to be close by for.
Yeah. Yeah. If they do win, this would be the second city I've lived in that has won a championship.
Oh, what was the first?
Cleveland. I lived in Cleveland when the Cavs won.
Oh, cool. So you were there
Yeah.
for LeBron's big redemption story.
Yep.
So what's your take on LeBron? Is he better than Jordan in your opinion?
No, it's hard to put anyone over Jordan. But I do subscribe to the argument that I think, and this goes for damn near every sport, there's generational goats, I think, because I just don't think the level of talent is the same as it was when Jordan was playing.
I think that's a very fair assessment. I can counter with a point. Babe Ruth would suck in today's baseball, but he was tremendous at the time because he could hit that mediocre cheese that the pitchers were dealing up to him, and he would sit there and swig beer and then just swing a big bat.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's baseball, he would be relegated to the minors at best.
Yeah. Could he survive a Jordan Hicks 105 fastball?
Absolutely not. Like, it would make his head explode.
Yeah.
And you can go through the annals of history and find guys that were great in their time, but would not succeed in other times. So I get your point there. But I still got to say Jordan's better.
Yeah, I have to as well. And Jordan's better at just being an icon, if you will. Like LeBron is a celebrity, of course, but I mean, Jordan's got shoes. Jordan's got his name on a bunch of shit. I mean, he's the king of basketball. So yeah, LeBron is for right now. If you want to call him one of the best, go ahead. If you don't want to, I don't really care either way. But
I mean, there are people that make pretty compelling arguments that KD is the better player. So
yeah,
I mean, but you never hear people saying KD was better than Jordan, at least not as much.
I would say that KD is the best offensive player, but he has absolutely zero other skills, relative to his peers.
Yeah, sure. I guess I can see that.
I mean, he can score like a motherfucker, but you never see him block a shot like LeBron did you know, for that last game when they won in Cleveland. That was fucking clutch, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you set me up perfect because speaking of clutch, this week for the Red Sox, we've been in Toronto playing the Blue Jays, divisional opponent, trying to still climb out of third place. The Yankees and Rays keep winning, so it's hard to catch them. It is what it is. But fucking, we had clutch moments in a game that went to the 13th inning. We had the two leading candidates for rookie of the year matching off against the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, and Michael Chavis and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. respectively. So it was a fun series to watch, a fun series to listen to, and it was even better because the Red Sox took 3 out of 4 games.
Oh, nice.
So that makes it 10 times better. But specifically, what I really want to bring to the table or bring to the conversation is Michael Chavis. This kid is phenomenal. I've been saying his name since before he made his debut.
Yeah.
Then I actually got to see this kid's fucking debut, and he laced a double off the center field wall. Excuse me. And then now this kid is putting up ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, he hasn't stopped. I mean,
No.
damn near every day you text me like Chavis hit number 9, Chavis hit number whatever.
Yep,
Crazy.
he's now hit number 10.
Yeah.
And that that's funny that you say that because he hit number 9 and it was the first game of the series with Toronto. And that was a game that Vlad Guerrero Jr. didn't play. It was his off day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so Michael Chavis came to Toronto, to Vlad City, whipped his dick out, hit a home run in the Rogers Center before Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit one in Toronto.
Damn.
Vlad has 4 on the season, but they're all on the road up to this point. So Michael Chavis came in there in his very first game in the Rogers Center and said, "Gone, bitch.
Eat shit."
Then I will say Vlad did hit one in game, I think, 3 of this series, the game that went to the 13th inning. So Vlad hit one in that game. It gave the Jays the lead or tied them up or something. It was a pretty big home run. So then Mookie tied it up in the 12th or went ahead in the 12th with a home run that got tied in the bottom of the 12th by the Blue Jays. And then who else but Michael fucking Chavis comes up in the top of the 13th inning, whips his dick out again and says, "Not today, Vladdy." Bam! Another fucking home run, number 10 for the Ice Horse.
That's awesome.
That's what they're calling him now, is the Ice Horse.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it comes from a podcast that I listen to and like called Section 10. They figured out how something about his name, Chavis, sounds like shaved ice. And then it, snowballed from there, various banter back and forth.
Right.
And they arrived on Ice Horse, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty fitting, and some of the memes that people have been creating for this kid are hilarious. So, but
That's funny.
he's awesome. He's my pick for rookie of the year already. He's batting since he debuted in the majors this season, like 28 games ago, 282, 10 homers, 26 ribbies, and he's got an OPS of 951. As opposed to Vladdy, who I was talking about earlier, at 244 with 5 homers, 11 RBIs, and a 767 OPS.
Yeah. And again, like I mentioned
but
last week, Vladdy's getting all the noise, and
all the
Chavis
hype.
isn't. Yeah.
Because
Just like I was talking about, like Bellinger is not getting any love.
yeah, he's really not. I mean, it is what it is. Vladdy
has the name.
He's the son of a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players that I ever got to see play. I never saw him play in person, but I got to see him play on TV. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I like that Chavis is just doing his thing and having a fucking fantastic start to a career.
Yeah, that's awesome. What position is he?
He's playing second base,
Nice.
which is where Dustin Pedroia usually plays.
Oh, okay.
So that is going to definitely lead to an interesting situation whenever if he ever comes back from his knee rehab, knee injury, and all that stuff. Which he's had setback after setback after setback. But in his last rehab starts, he's 3 for 16, and he hasn't hit any extra base hits or anything. So no real pop.
Yeah.
And not really seeing or hitting the ball well. He's getting older. I think he's more of an asset, more of a able to contribute if he's on the bench helping Chavis learn how to play second base.
Right.
Really take the time to get your knee right. If you want to try to come back at like June or July. Let it fully heal, man. I don't want to see him retire. I love Petey. He's been on the Red Sox since 2007. So I've watched this guy play baseball for a long time now. But man, and then if he ever does come back, what do you do with Chavis? You can't send a guy that's playing the way that he is down to the minors again.
Yeah, you'd have to move him to third or wherever.
Well, third is where Rafael Devers is playing, and he's got a hot bat right now too.
Yeah. Yep,
so they've experimented with or talked about possibly outfield, which would put Chavis in, I think, left, Benintendi in center, and leave Mookie in right. Or maybe you put him in right and then Mookie in center. I don't know, whatever. That's probably how they do it. Put him in right field and then put Mookie in center field and leave Benny in left. That makes sense. Anyway, I'm just figuring out how they would all be playing.
Right.
But then that eliminates a center field glove in Jackie Bradley Jr. in your outfield. So do you sacrifice defense or offense in that situation?
Yeah.
Most people are going to say you're going to sacrifice the defense, but
right. And that might be something that they kind of series by series dictate what they want to do or whatever. Because that's how the Cardinals kind of operate now with their outfield. They have 4 to 5 guys, but certain ones only play in certain times, like Harrison Bader, for example. He doesn't play every day. And Jose Martinez, who is our right field, whenever we get a chance to have a DH, he becomes the DH. And then Harrison Bader gets to move to center and they, move everyone around. But I don't know if you can do that with somebody like Chavis and JBJ.
I would venture to say that the reason that your outfield does that a lot more is, one, because you don't have superstar names.
Right.
But 2, because they probably play a lot of lefty-righty matchups. Because in National League games with the pitcher in the lineup, you have to make a lot of more substitutions. So you start the game with the best advantage against whatever arm the pitcher throws with. And then as the game goes on and the bullpen comes out, then you have bats that are, arm appropriate bats for the guys that are coming out of the bullpen. So it gives your team a more strategic advantage. And that's probably why a lot of your outfielders switch in and out every day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We do that too, or the Red Sox do that too, to an extent. But for the most part, they have a set lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like having the set lineup. And then whenever things move around, it's like, oh, hey, that's cool. I didn't know Vasquez could play second base, which he did once this year.
Yeah.
Randomly.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Molina played third base once randomly this year.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Like whenever a player will just all of a sudden be somewhere else. Like Brock Holt, that guy plays everywhere. A couple years ago, he played 7 positions on the field at some point in the season.
Yeah.
Everything except pitcher and catcher. Brock Holt can do it all.
That's funny.
I mean, that's a pretty marketable skill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's another guy that's injured that's coming back that you're going to have to find a hole for. And then you can't take Chavis out. So it's,
Or you don't find a hole for him, you know?
I mean, maybe is Chavis playing that well that he can keep
Keep his spot.
his spot? Well, keep Pedroia's spot.
Yeah.
Pedroia is a one-time Rookie of the Year, one-time American League MVP, three-time World Series champion. I mean, he's I don't know how many how many All-Stars, like probably 8, 9, 10, 11 All-Stars, somewhere in that range.
But like you said, that all is fine and dandy, but if he doesn't
It's in
have
the
a
past.
healthy knee,
It's in the past.
yeah, none of that shit matters if you don't have a healthy knee that you can run on and you can slide and not be in immediate risk of tearing your ACL or MCL or, blowing out your fucking knee again. Because as far as I've heard, once you injure a knee, from then on, it's just so susceptible to injury.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. That sucks too.
Yeah.
Because
needs to-
it seems like he keeps tweaking it or aggravating it or whatever. He
Yeah.
played maybe 4 games this year at the big league level, and he swung a bat, and whenever I guess he planted that foot or whatever, it popped, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't feel it." And since then, he's been out.
That's rough.
He's like, "Yeah, it popped. I can't do anything." And then he's had setback after setback in rehabs. Which, speaking of setbacks, I saw today actually that Yankees Giancarlo Stanton suffered another setback. So
Did he? Wow. Yeah, I know he's been injured for a while.
but he's letting people on New York squad play him out of a fucking job. They're in first place. The Yankees are in first place in the American League East, and Judge is injured. Stanton's injured. Didi Gregorius is injured. CC Sabathia just went on the shelf. Severino's hurt. Like their whole team is injured.
And they're still kicking
And they're
ass.
still kicking ass. They're playing good baseball, good team ball. They have a great farm system, is what that is. They have tremendous depth.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and that's how the Astros did it. They built from within, like Correa, Altuve, Bregman, Springer, all those guys. They came from within, and then they got Verlander in a last minute trade right before the trade deadline. Boom, got Verlander to come in. They had Garrett Cole coming up from within. Like they built most of that team and then got a few key pieces down the run and won a World Series.
Yeah. Speaking of Astros, did you see that the White Sox got the season's first triple play against them?
Did you see in that game what else happened?
No.
They hit a grand slam.
Holy shit.
The White Sox did. And you know what's unique about that? They are the 4th team ever to turn a triple play and hit a grand slam in the same game.
That's got to be like just how do you make all those moving parts come together like that? That's insane.
That's what I'm saying. It's the 4th time, so it doesn't happen very often, folks. So
I have never seen a triple play like
really
as I'm watching a game.
Right, you've seen the highlights obviously, but I've seen one in professional baseball.
Yeah.
I've seen like little league triple plays, but I mean, come on.
But yeah, man, they're a rare feat.
Yeah, they really, really are. Did you have any Cardinals stuff that you wanted to bring up or anything that's been going on with them lately?
No, not really. Nothing spectacular. We had a doubleheader against the Royals. 1-1, lost 1. Dexter Fowler hit a you remember that game I was texting you about where Mike Schilt got tossed?
Yeah, what did he get so pissed off about?
So it wasn't necessarily like a big at bat. So that's why I'm kind of curious too why he got so angry, but nonetheless,
like middle of the ball game, like
and I think they had the lead too.
Okay.
But nonetheless, the ump got 2 ball calls just absolutely wrong. And I guess he had enough and he went out there and it didn't take the ump seconds to toss him. But yeah, it obviously the final straw was the backwards K that Dexter Fowler took, and Schilt just came out of there fucking screaming. But I guess he's just trying to support his guys, or you know how managers kind of jump in and do that kind of thing when it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot to the game, but to morale and to just show your players that you have their back. That's what I would assume his plan was.
What was his strike zone like all day before that?
It was okay. Those calls there were absolutely egregious. But he also did that same thing to now. Fuck, I can't remember who we were playing, but he did it to the other team too. The manager of that team didn't say shit, but I remember seeing it like, God damn. But for the most part, I'd say he was okay. I don't know. I mean, that's just umpiring is a hard thing to do.
Absolutely. The guys on Into the Woods, one of their early episodes, they had an umpire come on there and talk, and he was telling some stories about, you make a bad call and people are like in the parking lot waiting on you with a tire iron and shit, and it's like, whoa,
yeah,
like this is middle school basketball, people, like whatever it was. But speaking of Justin, when he was on here a couple weeks ago, I forget.
Don't bring up sperm banks, please.
You brought it up, not me, sir. God, we led with that. This is well into the episode now. No one cares.
Fair.
No, but we were talking about the juiced baseballs. Well, I've been doing some more research on it, and I got some statistics. I'll go all Brandon Analytics on you real quick. So teams are averaging 1.33 home runs per inning across baseball this year. Last year, when they set the record across baseball for the most home runs ever, they averaged 1.27 home runs per inning. So we're on pace to set that record again. Further proof, the Baltimore Orioles this season
are dog shit.
They are absolute dog shit. They're on pace to lose something like 110 games or whatever, but they're on pace to absolutely obliterate a record that they're not going to be proud of. And that is allowing the most home runs against. The current record was set in 2016 by the Cincinnati Reds, and it's 258.
Damn.
As of today, the Baltimore Orioles are on pace for 347. It's a difference of something like 89, 90. So,
the thought is for these juice balls is that the seams are shorter, right? So that makes the ball more slick, and that the pitchers can't have as much spin and stuff like that on it.
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually set these two baseballs on my desk a couple days ago because I wanted to talk about them again, and I just needed a chance to bring them up in conversation. The ball in my left, I guess that's your right on screen for our YouTube listeners. This is the ball from the 2019 game at Tampa Tropicana Field that we went to recently. This ball over here is a game from the Johnson City Cardinals circa probably 1997 or so. So it's a professional baseball because it's used in professional minor league baseball. And this is a professional baseball that's used in Major League Baseball today. And I'm going to zoom in, or by zoom in, I mean put close to the camera. And you can kind of see that the ridges are pretty thin, pretty small on the newer ball. Look how thick that motherfucker is.
Oh, yeah. Say something again so they can see it.
You see that difference? That's a very noticeable difference that you can see there. So, I mean, that's just a little tidbit, a little extra, a little Nest Podcast extra for our YouTube audience and the people that are just listening on iTunes. You missed out.
Just imagine it in your heads.
Next week, I'll show you a baseball bat.
But that is an interesting thing for MLB or whoever decided that to kind of buck the system almost. It's like, we're not going to change rules. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to ever so slightly change our ball. And then here is this giant change that the numbers prove to be that the balls have made a difference.
Yeah, and I mean the numbers back it up, and you know the old saying, "Numbers don't lie."
Yep.
That's why I love baseball, because it's so easy to see what's going on just by the numbers. Like, I guess you can in a lot of sports. I just don't know how to read those numbers as clearly as I know how to read baseball numbers.
Sure.
Like I can look at just statistics and probably guess which pitcher won that game, which starting pitcher won that game based off of how many innings they pitched, how many hits they give up, how many walks they had, how many strikeouts they had, stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, fuck, speaking of walks, going back to Chavis, that was one of the most impressive things about this kid. In his 28 games, he's walked like 15 or 16 times. So
Jesus.
he's patient at the plate.
I was
Yeah.
just about to ask, are those intentional or did he actually?
No, he worked them.
Nice.
He's worked from 0-2 counts to drawing a walk.
That's impressive.
For a rookie too. That's really good. That's what's going to keep that on base percentage. That's everything. That's going to keep it a lot higher, you know.
Yeah. And I think that drawing a walk does two things. It's probably the easiest way to get on base. And if you can get a 3-2 count to then turn into a walk, you've just driven that pitcher's pitch count up.
Yep, absolutely. And not only that, you're making him throw more pitches in that particular inning without a break. So, you know, like how long-term fatigue works, short-term fatigue is the same thing. Imagine an MMA fighter fights 15 minutes but has that, minute break. If they had to fight 15 straight minutes, that would be fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing whenever a pitcher has to throw 30, 35, 40 pitches in one inning, that's super taxing because they're used to cruising at like 15 to 25 pitches per inning.
Yep.
Something
Yeah,
to
that
think
is
about,
rough.
kids. I don't know, man. I mentioned UFC for a reason because I texted you the other night and I was like, "Hey, man, did you hear about that fight that just got announced a couple days ago or whatever?" And you're like, "No, I haven't heard anything." Or you said something about another fight, and I was like, "No." And then I was like, I sent you the screenshot, and I was like, "Please allow me to introduce you to UFC 239." That's what I was singing in my head as I typed that out to you, by
It
the
came
way.
out clear.
Yeah, I'm sure. Text messages are
Yeah.
relayed perfectly. We
Mhm.
figured out that system, remember?
Yep. We have sarcasm nailed down. I mean, it's smooth. But yeah, to your point, holy fuck, is this card stacked?
Fully loaded. Absolutely loaded. And, the main card is stacked, but the undercard is not bad either. It's chock full of young, promising talent and stuff. So it's a day where you can lock yourself in your room or lock yourself wherever you are, turn on the TV, and just plant yourself there because you can just watch and enjoy the fights all night long. A lot of times I know people like to only watch the big name fighters or whatever, but all of these guys are going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to catch a fighter on their come up and then you can watch them rise. I remember you mentioned that you did that with Connor.
Yeah, I caught Connor early, which it kind of sucks that it was Connor that I caught so early on that I really liked because he ended up being a fucking douchebag.
Eh,
But I caught John Jones early on and really liked him, but then he had his douchebag streak. But I'm still kind of like, okay, he's still so good. And I want so bad for him to have cleaned up and be a good person now
mhm,
and just continue to be the best fighter on the planet. And
right.
he's fighting on this card that we're talking about. So it's one of those things that's like, yep, gots to see this one.
Yes, sir.
And
Most definitely.
he's fighting Santos. To my knowledge, I think that's the first time that they're going to fight. I don't think they've ever fought before.
Yeah, I don't ever remember hearing of them fighting.
So, I mean, it's easy to make the prediction that Jones is going to win, that Jones is going to, be able to easily defend his title and walk right through him. I don't know much about Santos except that he's a pit bull.
Yeah.
He's got the heart and he's got stamina for days. And I think he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, but I don't quote me on it. But after that, who's left for Jones at light heavyweight?
I can't think of anyone. I mean, there's absolutely zero contenders in light heavyweight anyway. Jones is the only person noteworthy because it used to be Homeboy, the Finnish dude. They just fought recently. Anyway.
You're Gustafsson.
Yes, yeah. Yes. But he's been beaten twice by Jones, so that's out of the picture. People are saying what's his Johnny Walker would be a good matchup, but it is entirely too early in this kid's career for that. He definitely needs to be tested before he goes up and faces the champ. But in a year or two, that would be an awesome matchup because they're both mega lengthy. I'm excited to see that one day. But I think once John cleans out the light heavyweight division and cements his name as the greatest light heavyweight ever, he'll move up to heavyweight. Whether that's fighting DC or not, we don't know.
I mean, it could be argued that could be after this fight. I went through and listed the top 5 light heavyweights. Number 1 is still listed as DC. We've seen Jones beat DC twice at light heavyweight. That fight's not going to happen. Gustafsson is number 2. Jones has beaten him twice. Santos is 3. Jones beats him here, whatever. Anthony Smith is number 4. Jones beat him at UFC 235. Number 5 is Dominic Reyes. I don't think they've ever fought, but
I guess you could make it happen and it could be another John Jones beatdown.
Like, do you really need to see John Jones beat the next best 5 fighters in the world?
Right.
Before he moves up? I say that he would probably move up after this fight.
That would make sense to me.
Go be champ. Prove that you're the man.
Right.
Because why, Zach?
Because he's the shit and DC ain't.
We got called out last week on Locker Room Talk.
Those motherfuckers.
Chris and Wallow. Yeah, they were both talking some shit.
I remember one time I tuned into one of their live streams and they were talking about pound for pound people.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris said that like he just doesn't think John should be on the discussion at all because of the tainted, history that he has with his test pops and yada yada yada. But I don't is that enough to like just throw a guy off of that list? I mean, yes, he's had fucking terrible decision-making skills in the past. And maybe he was juicing and maybe he got away with it. Let's just give that all for granted.
Well, and their
still be DC.
On their most recent episode, they had a conversation about they're not in favor of this, by the way, but they were having a conversation about somebody trying to strip all of the wins from TJ Dillashaw's career.
Oh, wow.
I think it was somebody from Garbrandt's camp was trying to strip all of the wins from his career because of the blood doping, whatever. And if they do that, the Locker Room Talk guys brought up that if they do that, then they also would have to strip wins from anyone who's ever popped for anything.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir, fucking damn near every old school guy.
Or would it just be everyone that's popped for blood doping? Because like they even mentioned, Chad Mendez popped for a fucking cream that he put on his face for like acne or
it was
or
eczema.
Eczema. Yeah, I knew it was one of those things.
Yeah, it was like a steroid cream that
yeah, and he popped for that and was suspended and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
whatever. Bullshit.
I
Anyway.
My thought on that is I think they can just leave it as is. Obviously, TJ's not the champ anymore, but I don't think you have to go back and change records. I just think now, no matter what, the fighters who have had a pass like that will just have an asterisk by their name. And John Jones has an asterisk. That's fine. But you just move on. You know, if TJ comes back and he's clean and kicks ass yet again, then whatever. He fucked up. Someone convinced him to blood dope, or he decided that on his own, whatever the case may be. And it was just something he did. You know, people fucking do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I definitely don't think they should strip anyone's fucking
No.
past victories and stuff. That's just absurd. Also on that fight card though, before we get too far down any rabbit holes, Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm. So that's exciting. If Nunes does this, does that make her officially the greatest of all time?
Duh. I mean, beating Cyborg was her definitive moment. I don't think Holly Holm has a fucking chance.
Yeah, I mean, we did say the same thing when she went in to fight Ronda, to be fair. But I do think Amanda's on a completely other planet than Ronda was on.
Yeah, and Holly never defended. She got beat by Miesha Tate, her very first title defense.
Has Amanda's fought Miesha before, right?
I'm sure they have.
I can't remember.
I don't remember whether or not the division is small, so I'm sure they have.
Yeah, but I mean, if Amanda beats fucking Holly, she's already beaten Ronda. She's already beaten Cyborg. If she's beaten Tate also, then that definitely solidifies it. If not, I say she's already the GOAT. Without beating Tate, she's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, Tate didn't beat Ronda.
Yep.
So
we were talking about John Jones and who he's going to fight next. Who the fuck is Amanda? Yeah, who does Amanda fight next? There's no one left. I maybe Megan Anderson, that tall bitch that kicked Kat Zingano in the eyeball.
Oh yeah, ooh, she would eat her alive.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing there that I know of.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody that's worthy that would put up a good fight. I don't know. They'll find somebody, and eventually she'll probably get beaten because that's what happens. But
yeah, the cycle.
Yeah, somebody will come along that's just fucking freakishly crazy at something, and it'll happen, or she'll get caught.
All right.
Anyway, also on this fight, Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal. Yeah, I was gonna get there.
Figured I'd swoop in and save you from butchering.
Yeah, you are so much better at the pronunciation than I am, though.
You know my trick?
What's that?
I listen to Joe Rogan say people's names.
I mean, even when I do that, I'm still like Managavedamindov. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's funny. But that's going to be an awesome fight. I'm very excited to see Ben Askren fight again, and relatively quickly for the ass beating he received.
Yeah. I mean, that fight was definitely remembered for the outcome, I think. But he got his ass beat. That was the opening, like what, 3 minutes of that fight.
Yeah, that was rough, man.
You saw the slam that Rose took.
Yes.
Doug Rose. Saw that it was similar to the slam that Askren took, except Askren survived it.
Yep. Askren has that fucking crazy ass wrestler, insanely tough background.
Yeah, and I mean it showed because he weathered that storm. And after that fight, I was pretty upset because I was one of the people saying that it was an early stoppage and that Herb Dean fucked up. But after, again, the guys from Locker Room Talk urged me to listen to Herb Dean go on Joe Rogan. I did. I listened to that.
Yeah, me too.
And I agree. He made the right call. What really got me was when he was thinking about that bulldog choke as like a neck crank.
Yeah, versus an actual choke.
He's cranking back on the C spine.
Mm-hmm.
He's cranking it back. And when Lawler's arm appeared to go limp, he instantly thought about Lawler's health, because whenever you're unconscious from that, you stop resisting. So your head is then at the mercy of the other guy's strength to rip it all the way back. And like, he could have been paralyzed.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to stop something like that.
Absolutely. So I do agree. I've officially changed my stance on that.
And that's one thing that us as fans don't necessarily understand a whole hell of a lot, is that a lot of people think, you know, the ref's job is to dictate and call a fight. But in reality, his job is just to basically protect fighters, you know?
Reffing ain't easy, man.
Yeah.
That's been the theme of this show.
I mean, because at the end of the day, the decision is going to be made outside of the ref's control. If you knock somebody out, the ref has nothing to do with that. You know, if it goes to decision and you win a decision, the ref had probably nothing to do with that. So he's there to stop fights when they need to be stopped. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily clear to begin with, but after he explained it like that, it's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, imagine if Ben Askren would have been fucking paralyzed from that. All the repercussions.
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, but at the time, like, I was one of those people that was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, Rogan was too. And
Yeah.
Rogan's an expert at that shit. So
Yep. So there's that. And I know it the screenshot that I sent you had the Francis Ngannou and the Junior Dos Santos fight, but you said something about that being canceled.
yeah, the right above the little thing, it says canceled. I don't know if
Oh,
you can
really?
pull up
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, I guess. Well,
let me
that
see if I can pull up
sucks.
the picture. Let me see if I saw the picture that you sent. But anyway, I could be wrong, but I could have sworn on the screenshot you sent it said canceled.
Huh. That
We
sucks.
can-
Oh, I've got it right here. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
So somebody must have gotten hurt in training camp.
Oh, man. That
Man.
sucks. I
I
wonder if they'll replace it with anything, or if they'll just kind of
Yeah,
leave that up in the air.
it sucks. Anytime you get to watch Francis, you better tune in because he is something else.
Yeah, I hope he didn't get hurt. I mean, not that I hope Dos Santos got hurt either, but
Yeah.
you know,
The younger guy, the guy with more, you know, more of a future. You want him to stick around.
Absolutely.
I think if Francis could get into some kind of wrestling camp or school or whatever you want to call it, that's where he needs his most help, and that would help him tremendously because he's got fucking cannons for arms. But
Yeah.
as Stipe has shown us, the man cannot wrestle.
Yeah, and you can't hope to beat somebody like DC if you can't wrestle.
No.
Plain and simple.
Right.
I'll give credit where credit is due. You know, we joke and say that he ain't shit. We actually respect him as a fighter very much.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And we don't shortchange him. We just say that because of the argument that people are saying that DC should be listed pound for pound better than John Jones.
Right.
And that is not factual.
Right. I will 100% give, especially if DC beats Stipe, I will give DC the greatest heavyweight ever title, and he can have that.
Sure. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I saw recently, you know, concerning another fighter in a fight camp, that the Nevada State Athletic Commission reduced the sentence of Khabib's teammates of their suspension, and it now is reduced by 35 whole days.
Did they get popped for steroids or something like that?
No, they were suspended for jumping in the cage and
okay.
fighting Connor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
that's right.
It's interesting that, you know, I said 35 days or whatever, but 35 days from their original suspension date is UFC 242. Khabib said that he wasn't going to fight again until his team was all finished with their punishment from their suspension or whatever, as a show of solidarity or whatever. So it's interesting that it would put it at UFC 242 when the UFC is trying to throw a fight card together for interim champion Dustin Poirier.
Hey, your team is clear. You can fight again.
So,
That's funny.
it makes me think that that is in the works and that is something that's going to come down. I also saw that Khabib's trainer said that he wants to have 2 fights after he comes back before the end of the year. I guess he wants to have this fight maybe at UFC 242, September, October timeframe. And then in December, he said he wants to fight George St. Pierre.
George ain't fighting.
George would fight if it was for that title.
You think he would?
I know he would.
I don't know.
That's what he wanted before he retired this most recent time. He wanted to fight him, and Dana said no. Because Dana doesn't want to risk him beating another champion and then retiring again.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's a fucking giant card and you make your millions of dollars and fuck the rest.
I mean, maybe Dana's trying to protect
his future fighters.
champion.
I could see that.
Instead of let St. Pierre add another, notch on the headboard, so to say.
Yeah. I would watch it. I would tune in. That's for sure.
Fuck yeah, I would tune in. Absolutely.
Can you imagine? Oh my God. Khabib and GSP. Fuck.
That'd be wonderful.
I'm still not necessarily convinced that GSP would fight again. I mean, what the fuck? I guess just add, like you said, add another notch. But I mean, what more does the man need to do?
Nothing. He just wants to be the greatest of all time. Definitively. He wants to be known as the best to ever do it. And nobody else would be able to even come close to that claim. He would be the Tom Brady of MMA.
Yeah. Close in age too.
Yeah, pretty damn. Anyway, do you have anything you wanted to talk about?
We kind of glazed over the Rose fight. Did you have any thought on that? I kind of have a little bit of a stupid theory.
Go ahead with your theory.
She's not very experienced. I think her record's like 8-3 or something around there.
You mentioned that last week, I think.
I'm thinking she might have just gotten lucky in beating Joanna twice. Or maybe it's one of those things where, you know how certain fighters match up perfectly against each other and they'll beat them 9 times out of 10 or whatever. Probably kind of like the Jones DC thing. Some fighters just have your number. I think the first time she fights a Brazilian and a person who has a grappling understanding. I don't know Jessica Andrade's, background and what she has, but obviously she knows how to grapple.
So I think so. You saw the slam.
Yep.
Did you see how Rose's hands and arms were when she got slammed?
Not really.
She had a Kimura grip.
Did she? Oh.
She had a deep Kimura for a few moments. There was a split second where it looked like Jessica Andrade tapped.
Oh, that's right. I do remember seeing that.
So, I mean,
yeah, that's a gray area.
You could argue that Rose had her tapping, felt the tap, let up a little bit maybe, and then that's what led to the slam.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not that I didn't see it live. I've only seen replays. So
yeah, same.
I'm not going to speak to how it happened. I didn't see the whole fight. So I want to defend Thug a little bit because I think she's pretty badass still. I hope she keeps fighting, but I think I read or heard somewhere that she's trying to hang it up now.
Yeah, she was really talking that way after the fight, and that may be just the blues of getting your ass kicked. But I do remember when she beat Joanna the second time that she said she was going to take a lot of time off. She likes to go out in nature and do that stuff. And so she took, I think, a year off.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I don't know what else she would do. She's not necessarily a big star. I don't think she has much to fall back on, but I mean, she's probably got at least some money and start a company or whatever she wants to do. But yeah, it would be a bummer to see her to go out like that.
Yeah,
But
I like Groves. I think she's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but I kind of think she might be a bit overhyped.
Probably. I just like the message that she tries to present and the way she carries herself. Like she sees that there's a lot wrong in the world and she just wants it to be a better place.
Right. And
And
she doesn't.
I appreciate that message.
Sure. And she doesn't have time for shit talking and all that stuff. She just
Right.
shows up and does her job. I
Right.
like that too. Especially in a day and age where the Conor McGregors and the Colby Covingtons of the world are the way that things are going. I like a more traditional martial artist every now and then, who's just respectful and you're in the cage and that's where you do your shit talking,
Right. But I mean, shit talking has been all the way back since the beginning. I mean, we watched Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell and GSP and Matt Hughes and all those
Oh,
guys
sure. Yeah.
growing up, and they just shit talked each other all the time. Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Ali did it too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, go even further back, but
Yeah.
it's part of life
It feels different these days though, for whatever reason.
because it's hyped. It's a concert. They turn these shit talkings into events. It's all over social media. Like people are shit talking in tweets to one another. Hell, politicians are tweeting at one another, starting Twitter storms and shit. It's a wacky world we live in today.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the social media. Because it's one thing to shit talk at a press conference, at the weigh-ins, at face off, whatever. But it's almost constant now. Connor's always talking shit about Khabib's wife or this guy, or he's posting videos of him punching Paulie Malignaggi in the face and whatever. And it's just like, I get what you're doing here, but I also don't give a fuck.
Right. It's stupid.
Yeah. And especially like from like the Colby Covington aspect of it. That's a kid who he might be great, he might not, but he doesn't have a leg to stand on, in my opinion. He doesn't have no fucking belt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Dude, you're talking in the octagon, like you said.
Yeah. It sucks that that's the way fighters are making their money now,
It's the WWE style UFC that they're giving us now.
Yeah, and we've been saying that for weeks now. Like they're giving us a WWE brand of UFC.
Yep. It's not what we all came up watching. And watch, just like WCW gained popularity for a long time, I'm sure another MMA offshoot will come along that will kind of be like, oh shit, these are legit fighters. They don't commercialize it. They don't do this. Hell, fucking maybe Barstool will put it on or whatever because they're in all kinds of things nowadays.
Yeah, I could be into that. I think
Barstool would shit talk more than UFC,
right?
Probably.
Yeah, no kidding.
They go the opposite way.
El Prez loves to fucking shit talk.
Yes, he does.
I think the UFC needs actual competition. I don't think like Bellator and those little places can give them any kind of competition, but I think it'd be good for MMA as a whole to have another venue for professional fighting to take place other than the UFC, because they basically have a monopoly on all the greatest fighters, essentially.
It worked for wrestling. Look at the 90s boom, the Monday Night Wars, all that stuff. Competition is a good thing in sports like that. Anyway, you ready to wrap this thing up?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Thanks, guys, for downloading. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back. What, are we coming back Monday with Garth?
Yeah. We can do the nuclear solar episode or whatever.
Yeah, we actually discussed that last night on the Bearded Ballesta.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it on there. I can't remember if it was on air or after, but I'm just going to be a spectator to that show.
Well, if you have something to say, obviously chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be here, but I don't know that I'll say much more than a live studio audience would.
Mind you, I'm no expert. So
gosh,
I'm coming. Yeah, Imagine that.
Garth is going to be talking a lot.
But it'll be a good time.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm excited to learn something, and it'll be cool. Maybe we can talk some video games or something too.
Yeah.
Try to
Definitely.
convince him to get Borderlands.
Right.
Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Tune in next week. We'll be back with some more sports. Thanks again for Sportszilla. Peace.